and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh, and in one moment we'll be chatting with Dominic Savage about his wonderful film Close to You, which is the closing gala feature film at Gaze Festival. But first, I caught up with festival director Greg Thorpe. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Greg.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you've a brilliant lineup planned. How is the planning and prep getting everybody on board? Over 100 films? That's a lot.
Yeah, I think possibly our biggest festival ever, and also our highest number of special guests ever. So we've got filmmakers and artists coming from all over the world and all over Ireland to join us. So 25 features and 11 shorts blocks. I think about 35 countries represented. It's like the Olympics of queer film, basically.
Oh, it sounds so fabulous. And hopefully, I know we were chatting about this just before, that you get a little bit of rain to coax people into the cinemas. And it's
I mean, we might be in competition with the weather a little bit, but our ticket buyers have been queuing up to grab tickets. So hopefully it will be on our side. And of course, you can have a cute drink in between films as well, out in the Lighthouse in the IFI. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Oscars has a lovely beer garden. So
Exactly.
if you're looking for British, yeah. So tell me, what are your highlights of the festival?
Oh, I mean, it's really hard to pick favorites because it's like having a favorite kid, but there's some events that I'm super excited about. I mean, having Peaches here to launch her documentary, The Teachers of Peaches, which will be the Irish premiere. And she's going to be in conversation following the film. So that's going to be a real coup. I saw that film at the Berlinale, and every single person in the room wanted to go out afterwards because it was just such a journey through her music and her personality. So that's going to be really exciting. And I'm always really excited for the Irish shorts. That just gives me so much hope for like the future of filmmaking when I see the new Irish short films that come in. Most of those filmmakers will be there chatting about their work as well. That one's selling really well, which makes me feel really happy because that work deserves to be seen. It's really brilliant. And then we have like a couple of really exciting kind of partnerships and curations this year. We've got a new partnership with Queer Spectrum Film Festival. Those guys are all about centering international people of color in films. So we've put together 3 titles for them with them. And one of those, The Queen of My Dreams, has got to be one of my favorite films this year. It's like a beautiful journey through like Bollywood, a relationship between a mom and her lesbian daughter. It's Pakistan in the 60s and Canada in the 90s. And it's just such a brilliant, fun piece of filmmaking. So yeah, there's loads of things I'm looking forward to. And every time someone asks, I say something different.
That's fabulous. And curating a program like this, what are your what goes into it? Do you go out and have certain ones that you program internationally and then go from submissions? Do you like to get a flow? Like how do you decide what goes where?
So it's a mixture of all of those things. And the programming team is myself and James Hudson and our new intern Myra Xavier. And those guys really took charge of the shorts program this year. And we're very lucky in that most of the best shorts films that we show are submitted to us. So we have our pick of this incredible international crop of shorts. And our job is to curate those into programs that will really speak to an audience. So sometimes that's around, here are some exciting new trans stories. Sometimes that's around, these are some fantastic horror shorts that we want you to see. So we really let the film dictate the program. And then for the features, it's a whole other exercise. So I get to go to see other film festivals, which is really important because you can see how the film lands with an audience, which is very different to me watching things on my laptop on the train, that electric thing of watching in company. And also, I don't want the programming to be too obvious. Like LGBT plus films get quite big mainstream attention and big stars now. Our job is not to kind of show that tier of films necessarily, but to go deeper into like queer filmmaking and queer cinema and what might not get seen in a cinema if not for a festival like ours. And that's where the really exciting unearthing that material comes from. And that's kind of my favorite bit as a curator. What can I bring to Dublin that might not be seen on a cinema? Some of these films will never get seen in another cinema setting. So that's really, really important that we are the people to do that. So yeah, and it's a year-round exercise getting these 5 days of films together for sure.
And one of the best things I think about a festival like this is experiencing with a community of an audience that, you know, is very passionate about this kind of work. Can you talk to me about yeah, how you kind of build an audience like that, and what you're looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky. This is my third year director at Gaze, and the film, this will be the 33rd edition of the festival. And it came out of community. It was a labor of love. It was done by volunteers. And it was a way to bring the community together. Like some people might not go to Pride, they might not go to gay bars, but they might go to an LGBT film festival and meet people there. And I'm really mindful of that legacy. And to me, that means, does everyone see themselves in the festival? And can they come and hear a story about themselves in the festival? That's really important to me. So there's lots of trans men represented on screen this year. We've got a special shorts block for old lesbians who are often written out of LGBT history. So those kinds of things are really important to me. So that thing, if you see yourself, you can be yourself, that really counts in a film festival. And also to bring in new audiences, like who is the next generation of gays film audiences? Are we showing work that's exciting to them? So we have like a fantastic selection of genre and fantasy shorts. We've got a brilliant feature film called Break the Game, which is about trans streaming and gaming culture. So we're reaching out to like hopefully the furthest corners of the community to get people's attention for this brilliant work. And my job is to like bring everyone in and make sure that they feel at home at the festival and are stimulated and challenged by the work, I think.
It sounds wonderful. And what are some of the good Q&As that there's still tickets left that people can book in for? Because that's my
So
favorite. I love when the filmmaker chats about their
yeah,
work.
well, selling very fast. We've got Russell Tovey and Andrew Haigh in conversation about All of Us Strangers. So we brought the premiere of All of Us Strangers to Dublin earlier this year. Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal came to say hello to the audience. We didn't have a chance to keep Andrew Haigh, the director, behind for a Q&A, so he promised us on that day that he'd come back, and he made good on that promise. So I'm really looking forward to hearing him talk about that film because it has had such an extraordinary impact. I think it's probably one of the most important LGBT films of the last 10 years. And that's going to sell out really quick, so I would get on that. The Irish filmmakers are always good for a yarn and some insight into filmmaking. That's on the Friday night with the new Irish shorts. And then, of course, you know, Peaches. We also have a fantastic shorts block called Ashe, which is all about centering queer Black artists and not just filmmakers. So that evening, there'll be music, there'll be poetry, there'll be dance, and that will be scattered in between some new short films by queer Black artists, including Irish artists. So and then they'll be in conversation afterwards. So that's going to be pretty special as well, I think.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. So, if you this is like you have to pick your okay, if you had enough money for one ticket, what would you make everyone go for?
Ooh.
No pressure.
So the favorite film that I saw at the Berlinale, I've managed to get for gays. It's called Reas, Reas. It's a musical. It's all cast with formerly incarcerated people. It's a love story. It's filmed on location in an abandoned prison. It's a comedy and a tragedy. It's one of the most invented bits of film I've seen in years and years. It's by a terrific director called Lola Arias. And I think it should win awards. It's absolutely spectacular. And that's on the Monday, the 5th. It's called Reas. So if I had one ticket, ask me again tomorrow. I might say something different. But today, that's my baby.
Oh, brilliant. Well, look, there's plenty there for people to choose from. It sounds like a really, really wonderful lineup. And I'd say it'll be kept well busy now between what is it, 6th is the closing film.
From the 1st to the 5th of August. Yeah, so right through the bank holiday.
Brilliant. No better way to spend a bank holiday in the summer
I
than,
think so.
yeah, with like-minded people celebrating wonderful films.
Thank you so much. That's a lovely way to describe it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
In Dominic Savage's powerful and naturalistic drama, Elliot Page portrays a trans man in a feature role for the very first time. So have a listen to the trailer here.
I'm going home for my dad's birthday.
Oh my gosh!
I haven't gone back in close to 4 years.
Oh, jeez. Bold. That's a bold move.
Is it?
Can I get you a drink?
first impression with the brother. It is really nice to meet you.
I know I'm just nothing but a disappointment to them.
You sort of took off, you've been gone.
You can come to Dad and I for, anything if you need it.
I'm really okay. In so many ways I am for the first time.
I just still think of you as my little girl.
You're so sad. And the last thing a parent wants is for their kid to be sad.
It's hard to say, but you know when you found it.
You look so good. You really do. You look the same, just more you. I love it.
For all these years.
Oh, yeah, there's that guy. I was wondering where he was.
You pick me up when I'm on the ground.
I don't know all the rules.
What are you talking about, rules? I'm just a person. Just talk to me.
Give me strength when it can't be.
You're going through a thing. We all have to obey.
Obey what?
I just worry about you.
You weren't worrying about me when I was actually not okay.
I'm so proud of you, my brave boy, living who you really are.
All these years.
You were the only person I felt myself around.
After all these years.
That kid was in so much pain before.
Thank you so much for chatting with us. We're so delighted.
Well, absolutely. I'm looking forward to coming to Dublin and seeing how the film plays with the audience there,
I think it's so poignant, and it's so powerful, it's so character driven, and I can't wait to dig into how you workshop with the actors and how that sets in with your career and your comparison to working in television. But first I'd love to just chat about you, if that's okay. And
Yeah.
you really feel like performances at the core of this film. Like it's so intimate, like it feels so personal when you're watching that. And I'm just wondering, you started off your career as an actor. Can you talk to me about your journey?
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, it's interesting coming to Dublin to show the film, because in some ways it's kind of where my whole film obsession and career started,
Brilliant.
Because I was a child actor, and the kind of first substantial part I had was in a film by Stanley Kubrick, which was partly shot in Dublin and Waterford, actually, and it's called Barry Lyndon. And I remember age, I don't know, 10, something like that, coming to Dublin for a costume fitting. That was my first aspect of acting in that film, and then meeting Stanley Kubrick, who was shooting in Dublin at the time. And so I was actually with the producer of Barry Lyndon a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying how funny that it is that, all that time ago, it was a long time ago, that was my introduction to film, really, through Kubrick, and that's how it all began. And I think, his being able to see how he directed, how he operated as a child, I found it really inspiring. I found the way he did it inspiring. So I think that's my evolution. That's the very root of it, if you like. And then obviously over the years you build your way of making films, and you find the way that you find your voice and your interests and your obsessions and your the things that you want to say, and then you keep trying to do it, keep doing it, and then hopefully you can make some over the years,
And I think what's wonderful is you've worked as you've written, directed, and performed, so you have a good scope. Do you think they were skills that fed into one another as your career was progressing, like working a lot in TV and then kind of cultivating your own films as a director? How do you feel that process worked?
Yeah, I think because my sort of after acting, obviously through the acting, I wanted to be behind the camera more than in front. I didn't really enjoy being in front of camera. I don't know why. I just didn't. I just knew it wasn't for me,
Was it the act of being observed?
Yeah, I mean that's what actors, they have to love
Yeah.
that, don't they? They have to love being on. They have to, it's all part of their thing. Whereas I was much more interested in, you're right, I'm much more interested in observing things and also being able to tell the stories with all the control that you want, with all this sort of freedom, I suppose, that you want. I know obviously a number of actors turn to directing, don't they? Or they direct themselves. Some of them direct themselves. But I was pleased to sort of to move away from it, and then going to film school was the other thing that really allowed me to find what I was good at with filmmaking. So that was the next stage, was the moving from acting to directing, and that was through film school. And it was there that I found the way in which I like to work, and it was through documentary originally. I was a documentary student, and I made my own documentaries and really enjoyed the realism of that and working with real people, and telling stories that I thought were important with real people, real life stories. And I think that just then, fed into the kind of drama I wanted to make, which again were based in reality, that were about, social issues, really about people's problems in their lives. And I think that's where this form that I make at the moment all originated from. It's all, the stories I like to tell are not the easy things of life, but the tougher journeys that we all go on, and that people can relate to. I think part of it is making relatable. They may be sometimes. I mean, if we take Close to You as an example, because that's what people will be watching. In some ways, it's a very everyday story, um, but it also tells the story of the particular difficulties of the main character. The idea of going home to family and after being away for a while, and that's actually quite an everyday story, but everyone has it's also a very important story, and it's a very relatable story because everyone understands something that, but in this case, of course, it has much more complication and depth and difficulty. And that always fascinated me. So, a lot of my work is that it's the difficult parts of our lives.
And again, you've had such a kind of long career in terms of projects and different kind of viewpoints. Do you find nowadays it's easier to find a home for your stories? Or was this something that you always, like you found it always easy? I know for filmmakers, it's not always easy
Well,
to raise the money or to.
yeah, it isn't. I think also, the struggle is the same in telling, you know, in making any work, that the process of making this kind of work is always tough because, they're not really crowd pleasing pieces. They're more demanding. They make people think about their own lives quite a bit. And I think it's an experience when you watch them. And I think, the as I say, in previous film I made for just before Close to You was a film with Kate Winslet, and her daughter, and it was about a mother and daughter going through a mental health crisis together. And it was, it's a tough watch. And a lot of the people that watched it felt grateful for it because it sort of highlighted something that they'd experienced, or that they knew someone had experienced, or that they didn't want to experience or were fearful of experiencing. So that it has a lot to offer people, but it's a demanding watch as well. But I think that's important. I want to make work that makes demands of an audience, that takes them somewhere that is not easy to go, but actually they feel rewarded by it ultimately. So yes, the films are hard, and they're also hard to get made. But I don't know it any other way. I don't know any other way of making the work. It's always got to have that slightly challenging aspect to it. I don't think I've made anything that was a kind of easy and an easy watch. It's just part of what I do. maybe I should maybe one day I'll do like an out and out blockbuster, you know, really fun musical, something like that.
Three acts. Classic
Yeah,
hero's journey, the end. Boom, boom, boom.
yeah,
Yeah. But with a
exactly,
twist.
exactly. Everyone's happy.
But it's I think what's beautiful about this is the complexities of the relationships and how they're interwoven. And I will get into this, but I'd love to. I want to go into the story, but I really want to get into the development process too, and that will lead into it
Okay,
because
okay.
again, something like this, I think it's just very interesting. Like first of all, on a practical level, how do you get funding without, you know, you have your scripts, you have your scenes, but you don't have your dialogue? Is that harder to pitch?
It's a more challenging way of working because, of course, um, the people, you know, who have to support it and finance it, get behind it, don't fully know uh, what the film will absolutely be. But I think the work that I've done before proves that, you know, that process works, because, you know, they always have done. It would be hard to do if I hadn't made it this way at all. You know, it was hard. It would be hard if there was no proof of concept. Do you know what I mean? But I've done it, and I've done it many times. So it does it. So they know that by just believing, I'm going to come back with something that has that is interesting. So that's okay. But I think with this film, there was a lot of interest. You know, I worked with Elliot Page on the script. I we met over Zoom, in a kind of just a very general kind of meeting that was set up for us. And he had seen my work. He'd seen a couple of films I made, which he really liked, really related to. So he understood the kind of stuff that I did. I obviously understood the work that he has done, and he's a great actor, really great actor. But he's also an incredibly representative, powerful figure in many ways. So that was exciting to me, you know, and we talked and we really got on. We connected. Um, and from that connection, I had this idea that he really liked, and we just kept talking and developing the idea and built our trust, and then built a story together, you know, which I then wrote the script for. So we kind of prepared it all together, you know, and so there we had a story we wanted to tell. There was me, there was him. We just knew we were going to do it, wanted to do it. And then really it was up to who was interested in supporting us. And there were quite a lot of people that wanted to, you know, because I think, you know, making something with a trans man in these times, playing a trans man was an interesting prospect for many people, you know. It's an incredibly prescient and important territory to be telling stories in. So, you know, I think that was how we got to where we were, and the rest was just then the business of making it. We found support for the film. They loved this mix of me and Elliot. They loved our belief, you know, because our belief was strong in the project and in each other. And those are the elements that you need really for a film. I think that's it. And once you have that, you know, that's kind of the easy. No, well, it's not the easy bit, but none of it's easy, because actually making the films then is really hard as well. So it's but I think nothing worthwhile does become it is easy to do. You know, nothing worthwhile to do anyone does is easy. So I always expect that every time I make a film. But yeah, that's how we got to actually make it. It was just through this wonderful personal connection that we discovered, and it's how I like to work, you know.
And in terms of funding, did that take a while to raise funds? Was it?
Well, I think not. I mean, I don't think it did. You know, I think it was quite it felt quite quick because a lot of people really understood it, really got it, really related to it. There were a number of financiers that were interested. I mean, they really liked the script. They really liked the story. They really got it. You know, they thought this could be important. And you know, I mean, it's a complicated business, the finance aspect of any independent film, you know, but thankfully I didn't have to get too involved in that. I could just concentrate on the creativity and the, you know, the how I wanted to do it, and the relationships of making it. But yeah, any independent film is complicated, really, isn't it? And they're a bit of a miracle that anything is made. Um, you know, but it's the belief that you have to have really with anything. I think it's just belief. And, you know, my philosophy is if it doesn't happen for whatever reason, it's, you know, that's okay as well. You know, I think it's you have to accept those things. And I think if something happens, there's a reason why it happens. That's my feeling, and I'm very pleased about that. Um, and I think it would be hard to go through something unless you had that absolute love and belief in what you're doing, you know? You know, I always felt with this project and with Elliot, so passionate about it himself, that it was something that had to happen. You know, we had to make it, whatever. We had to make this film. So it absolutely had that feeling about it. And I think the feeling is in the film, you know. I think that feeling of love for what we were doing and belief in telling a story like this is very apparent in the process of watching the film. I hope anyway.
Yes, and it is. And I think what's so beautiful about it is the rawness of the pain. And I'm just curious
Yeah.
to like Elliot's vulnerability in this role and just the weight of what hangs unspoken so often, and I think that's one of the things like that's challenging but beautiful and life affirming as you watch it, how it captures the humanity and the reasoning. I'm just curious to build that rapport. Like,
Yeah.
is that something that takes a while to get there? Was that on the page, or was that something that you and Elliot found, like digging?
Well, I think, do you know what? I absolutely think it was something quite inherent in the relationship that we formed, because I remember, you know, because Elliot, he's he's really, it's important to him who he surrounds himself with and who he works with. It's a really important thing, and it is for me as well. And I just felt that first meeting we had, we kind of knew it straight away, you know. It was a kind of quite immediate connection. And I think I do find that in life. I think you connect with people on a on a on a on a deeper level. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you feel it really quickly. And I think we did. And we trusted each other straight away. It was a very powerful first meeting. And then of course we had many, I mean, unfortunately, because you know, I'm in London, Elliot is New York. And we met actually during lockdown on Zoom. So we didn't actually meet physically until well into the process was underway. But we built that relationship over Zoom. Can you believe? It's bizarre,
Wow.
isn't it? But it worked. And yeah, we would meet regularly, talk about, you know, and we just built, but it was that instinctiveness, you know. I think there was an instinctive trust that he had in me. And I suppose you could also see it through the work, you know, through the work I had done. And we just built, and then the shoot is such an important aspect of this of my films in particular. I know every film in particular because there's a lot of stuff that goes on, which is relationships. It's about, you know, making something collaboratively with with the lead act, well, all the actors really. So it's a really personal process. It's a very involving, it's a friendship. I make the films with friends. They become friends, everyone, you know. And I love that. I love the way that I think that's what makes the difference. That's the difference that you see on the screen. I think because it is made in a very different way. I mean, a lot of films are sort of made in a kind of or more traditional stuff. You know, there's these levels of control, aren't there? There's the hierarchy of the directors, the producers, and all that, and then the actors come in to do their thing, don't they? And they do their job. A lot of stuff is like doing the job, isn't it? Whereas with this, it's like it's doing something in a way that where the journey is as important as the end piece. I think of course we make it because we want to affect audiences, we want to touch, we want to communicate ideas and feelings and emotions and to audiences, but we also do it because the journey of making something together is important and can be wonderful. And I think that's very much a part of how I like to work and a part of this film.
Definitely. And the cast are so strong. Can you tell me about finding them and again working with them and building their characters enough for it to just be so truthful on screen?
Yeah. Well, again, that was a process of I mean, in that instance, we were, in production when I started the casting. So I went to Toronto and started the process of casting and also location finding and stuff. And in a way, like I met a lot of different actors, but I didn't, I don't cast in a way where I'm looking for someone specifically for each role. I just meet lots of actors and see who I connect with and who I relate to and they relate to me, and then I tend to kind of slightly change things to fit the actors that I feel are particularly interesting in terms of their lives. For me, there's got to be a life story there as well. Um, it's not just about if someone can fit a preconceived role that I've got in my head and script. It's more like I don't like anyone to actually see the script before we cast or see what role it is. It's just they're all just general meetings just to see who that person is, and again I really like that way of working. And again it's very personal. If I connect with somebody, then I know I want to work with them and I'll make it work. So I think all the actors you see in the film are all people that I felt we had a connection with, I had a connection with, and that we could again work together and it was interesting because I think all of them felt the same way. They all felt it was a remarkable experience of coming together and collaborating and working, in this very personal way, because I think all of them had their own sort of life story as well, and I think that's really interesting. And then it's a question of working in the moment. That's the other thing. It's like a lot of working in the moment and developing it as shoot and changing things, trying different things. All that is part of the process. It's truthfully sort of explorative and instinctive, I think.
And it sounds, I have so many more questions, but there's one that I have to ask because I know we're running short of time. Is I read that it wrapped in June of 23 and then premiered at TIFF in September. How? How on earth? How did that even happen?
I don't think we actually wrapped at the.
They were like pickups or something. Like the last pickups were in June, was it? Or
something like that.
Oh God, yeah.
And because the shoot, the edits, and the bit, and all the post is like, it's all part of the thing. Because I think the edits, there's so much is changed and constructed and story, and
especially with improv, because there's probably so much of a surprise in there, or a moment that wasn't planned.
It absolutely turns it. Things evolve all the time, and I love that. I love the fact that only until picture lock really sound, when the whole thing is sound lock? Does it stop changing? You know, and I mean, I suppose that's the case with lots of films, but I think particularly with mine, um, and it was quite a quick process. I mean, we started shooting, I mean, quite late at the end of 22. It was really, it turned wintry very quickly in Canada, so um, we shot at a particularly cold point in the year in there, and that had its challenges too. It did. It was really hard. I've never shot in such. It doesn't look it on screen, but they were really hard circumstances, you know. Um, and it was fairly short shoot, you know. We'd shot by the end by Christmas, and
Okay,
then
okay, that's a relief because I was like, how would that even physically be possible? Like a short film post production, it's like
no, they are short shoots with me. You know, you can't go on too long because it's very intense process. You could not keep that up for too long. But that's the part, that's almost like the point of it, is that you know, you work in this intense, all-encompassing way. And then, you know, and I think in some ways, you know, because everyone also is working in this, they're giving a lot of themselves. The actors give us such a lot of themselves, you know. It's a yeah, it's a deal. It's a deal. So I'm pleased that it comes across to you like that, because it's you know, that's the point of it really, is that these films have this level of realism and intimacy um and emotion and heartfeltness that is hard to achieve, I think, with more conventional. I mean, I don't, you know, like I like lots of films, lots of different ways, but I just think, yeah, but I've always loved realism and people that really feel what they're doing rather than acting. I don't see it as acting. I see it as sort of being, you know.
And look, I know it's not sort of like a classically structured film in the sense where it has this tight, like beautiful little bow that wraps everything up so simply, which I think is
That's
beautiful for
right.
the complexities of the
Yes, that's
story.
right.
And it's so much more truthful to watch, but there is this sort of a weight that is hanging there. And I don't want actually, just if anyone's listening to this as well, there's a lot of joy and healing and beauty in this. Like I don't want to give
Yes.
the impression, if anyone is listening to this, that you're gonna sit in there and you feel terrible for the entire
No,
the entire film.
it's
It's
quite
quite, yeah,
it's quite redemptive in many ways.
yeah, and healing
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's the feeling you get at the end of it. Whatever the, as you say, whatever the difference in it is, it's an emotional experience. I feel, you know, like, and I've seen of audiences that watch it, they feel very affected by it, and that's all you can hope for with work,
beautiful.
isn't
And
it? I
I
think.
just want to ask, because you strike me as someone who's quite empathetic and observing, being very much so part of this story, and that there's such a natural level of trust, and part of the story comes from you quite deeply writing it with Elliot. Does it take a while to shake it? To shake the, like, when you finish edit?
It does. It does. It does. You're absolutely right. It's because I think the things that I can remember from the shoot itself, there being some very deeply emotional moments. I mean, you know, I think, I mean, for me, it was an incredibly personal journey because, you know, there's such a lot of humanity in it. There's such a lot of feelings and powerful feelings from all the actors, you know, and they felt it and I felt it. I could, you know, I had to be with, you know, part of how I make it, the films, is that I'm kind of with the actors. I mean, I'm a part of the scenes. I'm not on camera, but I'm in those scenes with them, you know, helping them, talking them through it. But it's a very involving process. And yes, you're right, you know, and you live with the film in the edit and in post, and you live with the film when it comes out, and you sit there in with audiences and see how it and see the work and the effect of it, and you know, and you see people that love it, you see people that don't love it. That's film for you, it happens, and that's all part of it. And I think it's a big deal, really. Yeah, you're right. So you know, it's, and I know with the next one it will be the same.
Oh, so you're going to go straight into like the toughest of stuff. Like you wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm just going to like direct, I don't know, like a kid's animation for 20 minutes to like
No.
like as a palate cleanser in between or anything."
No. It's I mean the question is like how deep can I go, really? How much more deeper can I go with the work? How much more you know I don't know. I think that how much more truthful can I go? I mean, that's always the thing that I'm looking at, But I think it's a question of that, really. I think it's just maintaining that sense of authenticity and truth. I can't do anything that's not that. So as long as it always feels like that, I'm happy. I'm happy.
When I say, do you shake it, what do you do to sort of like heal after it, or does it process itself?
It is difficult, but I think it's I think maybe the healing comes in slightly the relief. I mean, I think when because the film's going to be released in America on the 16th of August and America and Canada on the 16th, and then I believe UK and Ireland at the end of August, and I think there's a degree of healing in that process because it's a sense of which it's finally done. It's out there. So all the while it's not released, you've got this pent up feeling. But when it's released to the world, then I think there's the sense of calm in some ways.
Until the next one, then
So
you
that's
dig down into that.
Yeah,
but it's
that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, it must be terrible when a film doesn't get released. I mean, that must be because a lot of films don't as well. You make them and they don't necessarily get released. That must be quite hard, I think,
Yeah, I can imagine.
But at least with this, at least there's that it will find its way into cinemas and into the hearts of the audience, and that's the release. To be honest, there's my redemption. There's my
and one of the most beautiful things is the sort of the complexities and the perspectives and how empathetically everyone's point of view is, except for one who's a brilliant villain.
Right. That's right.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. There's that whole range of reactions and phobias, really, and and that's interesting because I think they came also from a real place within those characters, and so yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be better? I mean, I think also, with this kind of work, you sort of want it to enable people to feel more understanding about other people, and other people's lives. I'd love the takeaway from this that people feel that they understand the difference in us and respect it, and we can all respect and care about each other, whatever our differences. That's the aim, isn't it? I think.
And a beautiful aim. And thank you so much for chatting with us. I had thousands. It was such a gorgeous film. And you're coming over to Dublin then to celebrate?
Yes, absolutely, coming on because it closes the festival, doesn't it? Closes the Gays Festival, so that'll be great. That's Monday night. I'll be there answering questions. So look forward to it.
Thank you so much. And we'll put a link to the tickets, so well worth a watch if there's any left. Sure, Jesus, probably sold out now at this stage.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking.
The 32nd edition of Gays showcases the best in new Irish filmmaking and in queer international cinema, and takes place in Dublin from the 1st to the 5th of August 2024. Check out the full programme and ticketing information at gays.ie.